continue. Okay, so it says it's recording.
In fact,
Hopefully
I
it's
might record it. Or I wonder, can we both record at the same time? Have you ever tried that?
um I have not. You could try. It's under
Yeah.
meeting and record.
Please ask host to give you permission. Okay.
So I don't know how to do that, but what I'll do is I'll send you the recording.
Okay.
Um okay, so let's see. Let me find the right folder here. Okay, so basically, I don't know. Have you talked to Juliet Kesterson? Maybe has she contacted you or?
Somebody definitely contacted me about this, and
Yeah.
it was a while ago, so I can't remember the name, but
Okay. I'm guessing it was probably Juliet. So because she sent me a little bit of background info about your story, and so uh, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you are working on or have completed the master's in education. Could you
yes.
tell me a little bit about your educational background and your time at UT?
Sure. Do you want me to start at this most recent or the 10-year-old masters? As you can see, I have the
Yeah.
two.
Did you do both of them at UT?
I did.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
actually, so first off, where did you do your undergrad?
I did it at Appalachian State. That's right
Okay.
behind my head right there.
Okay. All right. All right.
um,
And
yeah,
then
so
after that, you did a master's at UT in
history.
history. Okay. And then you've just followed it up with an additional master's degree.
Yeah, it was. I earned the history master's in 2007 with
Hmm.
the intention of moving into the PhD program at UT.
Okay.
I was adjuncting at Pellissippi, not making enough money,
Sure. Yeah.
and at that time, when I was married, we became pregnant, and I had to make some tough life-changing
Hmm.
decisions, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
it knocked me off course. But 10 years later, I found an opportunity to return. I learned about the vocational rehab
Mhm.
program, and here I am teaching.
So, um, so you are currently teaching at a K-12 virtual school.
Hmm.
Could you tell me
Yes.
a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, it's Tennessee Connections Academy is only 2 years old. This is its second year. It was a pre-COVID, pre-pandemic conception for students who needed, I guess, already homeschooled students whose parents needed a little bit more assistance,
Hmm.
um, and also for some students who just didn't have any other option
Hmm.
because they had exhausted all their options. Uh, but if you think about it in terms of when I graduated and entered the job market, there's a huge silver lining there for me because their enrollment like more than doubled or even I think tripled.
Hmm.
So they had to hire, several social studies teachers, and I was lucky enough to get one of the jobs. I had been working very closely with the Career Center and Simone Stewart, who
Hmm.
was very integral to helping me remarket myself as an educational technology guy. Because when I got the master's in history, there was a period where I didn't know what I was going to do after that, and after I left the PhD program, I was teaching part time for the University of Phoenix, which is one of the first sort of pioneer
Hmm.
online education programs. So
Hmm.
I had that going for me and other things, and so yeah. Um,
Um,
did it,
yeah.
okay.
So, um, so one of the words Juliet said your sort of career ambition is to become kind of an expert in uh, virtual learning.
I would say that as a possibility.
Mhm.
You know, you never know what life is going to throw at you. Like this, every student that goes to the education program has to take an educational technology class
Hmm.
in which you have to become Google certified as an
Hmm.
Google certified educator and learn all about whiteboards and as much. as we did in that class, then on top of that, the social studies department was always very tech heavy because there's so many great websites out there. So I was already prepared with, thousands of bookmarks, and virtual museums and,
Hmm.
all sorts of stuff for geography, especially.
Hmm.
And actually did most of my coursework in geography because I had already had the master's in history. When I returned, all I needed was education classes and geography classes.
Hmm.
So I spent a lot of time in the geography department learning about geographic information sciences.
Hmm.
Had no idea what it was. Only reason I enrolled in the class was because it fit with my schedule, my work
Hmm.
schedule at the time.
Hmm.
And it had a lab, and I was freaking out. I was like, what did you get yourself
Hmm.
into?
Yeah.
But I fell in love with it. It changed the way I think about the world. You get this like
Hmm.
geospatial kind of thinking going on, and
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
yeah,
Um, so like so that kind of means that like you could eventually in the future you might be open to like becoming sort of a consultant for virtual education.
yeah, especially with GIS because
Mhm.
I really feel like there's a lot, and I actually did some research and won some travel funding award to go to San Diego. Esri is a company that is like the global market leader in GIS software. It's called
Mhm.
ArcGIS, and my presentation was on cognitive learning theory and GIS and how it helps kids to sort of um, place things in a geospatial pattern. Develop mental maps because if you're a history teacher, you can't ignore geography. Obviously, everything happens at a time and place, and so I went out there and presented, and also got to just experience all the industries that uh, this GIS is permeated, and it's
I,
amazing.
I think I saw one with the COVID dashboard. I think it
Oh
was
yeah,
ArcGIS or was in the name somewhere.
yeah, they are very much into the public health sphere. I actually created a poster in my first class, and this was with the help of two undergrads. I mean, I'm twice their age, and we were collaborating, and I, came up with the idea, well, let's look at the opioid crisis. This was in 2018,
Mhm.
and the poster and maps that we made this, huge poster. It won all kinds of awards, and we
Mhm.
presented at the Tennessee Geographic Council and won best data integration there. So
Mhm.
these uh, one of the graduates is now making like 90 grand, and right out of just undergrad.
Wow.
It's a great field. So even turning a kid on who's not thinking they're college bound but loves technology, turning them
Mhm.
on to GIS,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, that's just got
It
endless
can,
possibilities.
sounds like it can really yield some results.
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. And in addition to just being, it sounds like a really amazing technology.
It's so powerful. It's like, you think of Google Earth and how powerful those layers are, but the amount of data that you can layer and layer and layer, and it can be any data. Open source data is everywhere on the
Mhm.
internet now. So
Mhm. So you just take these data sets and you can like overlay them on a map and have layers and explore them that way.
simply put, yes,
Yeah.
it can be a lot more problematic than
Sure.
that.
Sure.
Like, formatting, and
Yeah.
it's typically spreadsheets, and
Uh-huh.
but once you get it in there and it's all set up the way you need it to be set up, it works pretty well. Like I
Yeah.
did a project about the Irish famine
Hmm.
and showed potato yields, grain yields in each county, and then cross examined that with the number of immigrants
Hmm.
that left.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah.
But I guess getting those two data tables to kind of like mesh is probably the challenge.
Yeah, I was worried about getting data for the Irish stuff, the potato yields and stuff, but I
Uh-huh.
came across this amazing website, and a lot of times when it's an educational website, which this was, if you just reach out to the guy who or the girl who owns it,
Hmm.
he was happy to send me a nice, neat Excel,
Hmm.
file that I just popped right in, and then what I did was I looked up another website that showed everywhere in the world you can find a regular Irish traditional music jam, like weekly jam or a monthly
Hmm.
jam,
Hmm.
and emailed him. He gave me a nice, neat spreadsheet, put it
Yeah,
in there, and you can. I mean, it's amazing. It's all over the world. You can find pretty much anywhere.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
So were you able to kind of establish a correlation between the potato yield and the immigration?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Um, the west of Ireland had there was more data than just that. There was housing data. There was what else was there? It's been a while. It There were so many different attributes, but it was very clear that the hardest hit counties were in the west,
Hmm.
and like especially County Clare. And then when you factor in the music, that folk music is typically written by and practiced in the poorer communities, like
Hmm.
just like today, if you think about folk versus popular culture.
Sure.
So,
Very cool.
yeah.
Wow. That's really, really a neat thing. And I can imagine that your students get a kick out of that because it really kind of brings it to life and connects it to today.
I haven't had too much of a chance to incorporate GIS yet because I'm just sort of getting my feet wet and uh well, for one thing, we haven't the high school seniors don't cover the famine. I mean, they
Okay.
look at the second wave of Irish immigration, which is in the late 1800s, early
Hmm.
1900s.
Okay.
Um, but I have some ideas, and I was thinking, we do clubs, and I'm doing a history club right now, but I'm thinking about doing a geography club next year,
Hmm.
maybe a GIS club. So,
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. And you would do that in this virtual academy.
yeah, yeah.
It's awesome. Um, so could you, I guess just to kind of like broaden the lens a little bit, could you tell me a little bit about like just overall your experience at UT, having been a student at UT twice now? Like, um, what does the university mean to you? How do you feel about um, the instruction that you received and the support that you received, and just generally, you know, what are the sort of first thoughts that come to your mind about the University of Tennessee?
So the history department was extremely intimidating. And of course, I was a lot younger then, and I moved up here from Atlanta to go to the school.
Mhm.
The history department is a pretty good program. I mean, it wasn't easy to get in. I didn't get accepted the first time. They do the professors do a lot to weed out people that they don't believe. But in the long run, looking back, I appreciate that. I appreciate a lot of getting B's is sort of like getting a C as an undergrad, you know.
Mhm.
And when you get a B plus or perhaps an A, which I got a couple of A's, a couple of B pluses, I think I finished with like a 3.6 in that
Mhm.
department.
Mhm.
I felt very accomplished, and I was able to get some funding from the department and work with actual professors on their professional research. Dr. Freeberg is the head of the history department now. Before when he was an associate professor, I was his research assistant for one of his books, and then I was a teaching assistant for a world history class. So I have nothing but good things to say about that department. And then with regard to my most recent venture here in education, it was amazing. I mean, I I felt a little odd, only because I was so much older than everybody, all my colleagues, and there was nobody else that was older than like 26, and I'm
Sure.
over 40, so it was kind of hard to connect with them on their level. But and I think I was even actually older than some of the professors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Uh,
So
but
you were like, I guess would be called a non-traditional student at
yeah,
one year.
yes, yeah. After starting a business and selling it, and then getting into IT for a few
Mhm,
years, and just not really enjoying this. Well, okay, push this button, and
mhm,
telling people what to do over the phone. I knew I needed to do something else. I didn't want to get stuck in that for the rest of my life. And
mhm,
so when I learned about vocational rehab from a therapist that I was seeing, which it basically changed my life. I mean, vocational rehab, a lot of times you think that that's just for people with a disability,
mhm,
but I was at the time suffering from a lot of depression
mhm,
and having just gone through a divorce and not being able to see my daughter a lot. So they tested me for hours, like with
mhm.
IQ tests and
Yeah.
psychological tests and background checks and everything. And they picked up the entire tab.
Mhm.
But I still needed
Who is they? Was that the?
a vocational rehabilitation services. It's a branch of the human services of Tennessee.
Okay, okay. So it was like
Yes,
a
the state.
state. Okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay.
But I still needed those loans, and I was able to get out of undergrad and the first master's without taking out any loans. So I still
Mhm,
had the ability. So that was like how I skated through. Even though I was working full time, I still had to pay child support, and I own a home. I've lived in this home since 2005.
mhm.
So, I've got a mortgage, all that
Sure,
stuff.
sure.
I took
It's
it.
tough to make the choice to go back to school when you've got all those responsibilities.
It was. It
Right.
was very tough, and I took it very seriously, and I took it one assignment at a time, and I left with a 4.0.
Mhm.
So,
Wow. Um. So like so you've now graduated,
hmm
and what was it? You graduated in spring of 20?
yeah, this
Okay.
spring. So I was uh, in the education department. You have to do a full year internship, full
Mhm,
time. So that year I could not work a job. It was impossible to work because
mhm,
you are working as a teacher full
mhm.
time with a
Where
mentor.
did you do the internship?
I did it at middle school in the fall, Gresham Middle School,
Mhm.
and then in the spring I was at Maryville High School. Um, and I remember me in the
I've been there. That was my alma mater.
oh really?
Yes.
It's a great school. I mean, it's like ranked some of the
Yeah,
top in Tennessee.
yeah. I'm sure it's changed a lot. It's been quite a few years, but
Do you remember Mrs. Wilson,
ah,
history teacher?
no.
No.
I think that
Okay.
might be before
She's
my time.
she's almost at retirement age
She
though,
might,
so
yeah.
who
You
knows?
know, I bet if I saw her, then I would recognize her.
She
But
was my mentor.
yeah,
Um, But yeah, we started seeing these newspaper articles and more news about this virus, and then we were like, "Wow, this could be worse than what we
mm,
thought." But
yeah,
never thought that leaving on spring break and then hearing I would just not be going back. I never got a chance to say goodbye to any
yeah.
of the students or anything.
Wow.
So
So kind of also a rough experience then.
but the school Tennessee was extremely supportive.
Hmm.
Um, Especially with the CARES Act and the emergency funding that
Hmm.
I was able to very easily apply for.
Hmm.
Um, and the education department, they were sure to come up with some extra work for us to do in
Okay,
place of the,
good.
yeah.
So could I ask about the emergency funding? So during that year, you were in your internship, so you could not work outside of that because you were doing the internship full time. Um,
So, mhm,
how did the funding help you? I mean, it seems as though it did, but can you elaborate on how it did?
yeah, absolutely. Um, when I realized I wouldn't be going back, I was immediately searching for any um, virtual job that I could get. Anything like customer service, in call, anything. I had applied in my mortgage company for mortgage forbearance and had received it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, When I got that check, though, I mean, after applying and got the disbursement, I was able to make a mortgage payment, which was huge because this was, I want to say, it was either May or June, but I think it was May because as soon as I got that check, I also landed a teaching job that
Mhm.
was online, outschool.com. It's like a freelance contract position where you market yourself, you build your own classes, and
Mhm.
parents sign up,
Mhm.
and the business keeps 30% of your
Okay.
earnings. So with that check, that got me over the short hump of being able to find that job. I don't know what I would have done without it. I would have. I mean, forbearance is one thing, but you come back off of that, you're going to owe everything, and then
Sure.
interest will start to accrue. So
Right. 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 So you were able to catch up kind of with that.
I was able to stay actually on par. I
Oh,
think I
cool.
had to pay one late payment
Yeah.
because the 850 covered my mortgage and I think another bill. Probably my mortgage is somewhere around 700,
Yeah.
and so
But that on that schedule of payments where they do like month to month for 30 years, like you were able to kind of stay on pace.
yes.
Yeah.
And after the summer, I just dropped out of the
Yeah.
forbearance plan.
Yeah.
So
That schedule of payments, it really freaked me out like really badly when I saw it. It's like there's the next 30 years of my life just laid out on paper.
oh, I know it's almost like you think you own, but you don't really
Yeah.
own. The bank owns.
Right.
You.
But I think it's awesome that you've been able to hang in there with that.
It's crazy, man. I mean, as disappointing and troubling as 2020 has been, it never ceases to amaze me how something good will happen that just like keeps me going. Like this
Mhm.
job offer, I didn't know the social studies job market is not lucrative. I mean, it's not the Knox County and even the surrounding counties were not looking for a lot of social studies teachers.
Sure.
A lot of my cohort, they were able to relocate, to other
And you
cities,
obviously want to stay
states.
local because your daughter's here and everything. And
Yeah, exactly. So I only had a couple of options, and then I got the call like July 10th, with an offer on par with what I would have been offered from
Mhm.
Knox County with
Yeah.
benefits. It's the same kind of a school. We have the same schedule. We have like spring break. It's not year
Mhm.
round.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Wow, that's amazing.
I know I really feel blessed.
Yeah.
My neighbor keeps telling me, man, he's the next teacher and he's retired. He's like, you hit the jackpot, bud, because and after seeing what's been going on in some of the schools, my daughter being in
Mhm.
one and not,
Sure.
not in it, she's doing it virtually.
Right. Right.
But Vine Middle Magnet has had 25 reported cases of COVID. This just as of today, I got another email, and
Sure. Yeah.
so
It's
man,
bad.
I would never have wanted to put her at risk, and then if I caught it, then I would have to quarantine
Yeah.
from her for weeks. And
Right. Right. But you're the way it is now. You're set up. You're stable, and you can get through the whole pandemic.
yeah, I mean, I'm on like right now. I'm looking at you on a laptop,
Yeah.
and I have two widescreen monitors
Uh huh.
flanking me.
Yeah.
I have my daughter on Google Chat during
Yeah.
the day when she's
Yeah.
at school, so if she has any questions,
That's good.
especially
She's got a teacher for a dad, so she can always have that resource. That's awesome.
yeah.
Very cool.
And I kept the job at Outschool. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still teaching. It ended up being more of like a music
Okay.
thing.
That's cool.
The parents in the summertime they go more for like hobbies, and so I
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
guitar, banjo,
Yeah.
ukulele.
Mind if I ask what type of instrument that is?
That's a ukulele right
Okay.
here.
I thought so, but I guess because the lens is wide, it's sort of distorted. It looks wider. But
It's
my
a it's
my
not a.
father, yeah, my
Go ahead.
father-in-law is a ukulele instructor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is you must know then that they come in different sizes.
Okay.
Soprano.
Yeah.
This is a tenor,
Okay.
so it's got more frets, longer. It's like
Okay.
wider.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's still
Very
tuned the same.
okay. That's awesome. Yeah. He like he does classes online now. Um,
Does Where does he teach through? Or
so well, I don't know. So he's my wife is from Venezuela, and
oh
so but her parents moved to Peru, and her whole family moved to Peru because of the political economic situation there.
wow.
But he did have a little like music school going in Lima, Peru, but they just moved it all online when the pandemic. But it's been going great. Like he still has um, tons of students, and I think it's just been word of mouth and like a little bit of Facebook advertising and things.
It's amazing that the ukulele has entered popular culture as much as it has.
Yeah.
You would not. Honestly, they make you do a test class at this outschool thing, and I honestly did the ukulele class because I thought it'd be the easiest, quickest like test class I could get passed
Mhm.
through, and then I could start building the social studies classes that I wanted to teach.
Yeah.
But when I realized that the demand was for this uke class in
Yeah.
different camps, like
Yeah.
you can, it was crazy how much money I made
Yeah.
just teaching uke.
It's awesome.
I know. Another savior, you know.
Right. Right. Well, my wife always said she's always teaching our well, our we have a 2 year old and a 6 year old, but she's teaching the 6 year old piano, and she uh, it always says that she wants the kids to have something that they can do like that because for her parents, her mom was a journalist and her dad was in sales, but whenever Venezuela collapsed, they moved to Peru, and that's like how they got back on their feet was like teaching music. So it's just like one of those things, it's just always there,
Yep.
you know.
I try to tell that to my daughter all the time. She has been forced, unfortunately, I've had to force her to take piano lessons since she was eight, eight
Yeah,
and a half.
yeah,
And she is now 11, going through some changes, and
sure,
it it gets really frustrating for her, even to the point of tears. And
yeah,
I'll be like, I'll say something like, Elsie, being a musician is so important because it's like, music is life.
mhm,
Everybody knows music. It's a universal language. And she's
mhm,
like, I don't want to be a musician. I said, you don't have to be a professional
yeah,
musician, but it's like it's a skill that
right,
you could walk into a room and there's a piano there. If you can sit down and play Let It Be or something, you're gonna be friends with everybody in the room in a
right,
minute.
right. That's awesome. Well, I bet she'll go through a phase where she's doesn't want to do it, and then I bet she'll come back around and want to do music again.
I hope so. I told her she had to till 16, and then I
Yeah,
would respect her decision at that point. So,
awesome.
yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty much like everything that I had wanted to ask. Like, and what I'll do is I'll write a draft of the article and then I'll send it to you so you can read it. And if you feel like you have any changes you want to make, then that's cool. You just make whatever changes. And then I send it to UT's editor, and then she does changes, but nothing like substantial, just more like grammar and like the flow of the sentences and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
I guess we didn't really. I mean, is there anything else that you want me to say about UT or the emergency funding? Because I mean, I really can't underestimate how helpful it was. It was very timely and helpful when it did come.
yeah,
Or the Department of Geography, the funding that they gave, the opportunities that I got from them it was amazing. You
yeah,
know, so just
yeah.
add that in if you
I
want.
will absolutely.
Okay.
Will do. Thanks, David.
All right. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.